Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very strange Pod by Night live show where Josh and I are going to sit down and put all of our feelings out on the table about the new V6. Pew pew.
Panic.
yeah.
No, we're good.
Get your comfort blanket. No. It's really not that bad. We are coming from kind of a really interesting series of perspectives. I had a chance to play test it at Gen Con in a press game. For those of you that don't know, oftentimes new things at Gen Con will be released and they'll have a special time slot where magazines, press can show up and see the new thing in action with a group of people. They had some players drop out. I batted eyelashes and managed to finagle my way to the table, and I had the chance to play with the VP, Jez, who was my ST, and I got to play at a table with a variety of people, which I'll talk about as we get in. But Josh is coming from a different side of things.
I got a bunch of my friends together at various different points throughout this week, and I story told the scenario that comes with the playtest. Which is called Not in My Domain. And yeah, I had group sizes from 2 to 4, and different people had different approaches and different levels of experience with VTM, and also different opinions on 5th edition. But most of them, I don't think were anywhere near the level of obsessed with Vampire as I was. And yeah, they had some, I think, pretty positive experiences, but there were some overarching themes and questions that they had. I guess that's kind of what we're going to go over today. Yeah, community's burning itself down.
Yeah. And again, we're coming from different perspectives. We're not going to leak anything. We have no secondary ultimatum here to try to reveal something. I will be fully transparent. I have a friend who's helping develop, like a very close friend who's helping develop it. And I got some of the perspective of maybe why the game designed this way. Some of which I can share, and some of which I'm not going to. Because what happens at Gen Con stays at Gen Con. No. Really, I didn't get anything that wasn't inevitably announced on a stage. So all my friends were very good to not tell me super secrets. So we won't be doing any of that today, but we're just going to talk about like the experience. I played at a much larger table than Josh ran. Like I played with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think there were 5 of us.
Damn.
At the table. Okay. So we had like a full kind of run. I did in fact play a gangrel because we had some people that have never played VTM before and some people who were like aware but not like me. I let them choose clans first. It only felt right that they got to choose like their pre-gen character based on what they wanted, and then I was like, girl, I'll play whatever, I'll just fill it, just give me what's left. Of course nobody wanted the gangrel. So
no one wants the gang girl.
Nobody wanted the gang girl, so I can very, very, very much assuredly tell you. But I will say my table had a Ventru. The Ventru was played. We had a... what else did we have? I've got to run down the list. We had the Bruja. Was a very new person to VTM. We had our Ventru. Nobody played the Ministry. They played... Somebody used Oblivion, so it would have had to have been... Because the only one on the character sheet... Anyways, I'll go through them. I'll remember them as the characters, because that's what I remember. Everybody did a pretty decent job with... and the Nosferatu. We had a Nosferatu at the table.
Oh, cool.
And La Sombra. The Oblivion was in La Sombra. So we had a very interesting kind of like... Not like hard standard core, but then, so we had some random stuff, which was cool. And the La Sombra was in fact played by somebody that is actually works for them. So I got a really good look at somebody that knows how to play a La Sombra, which was good. All right, Josh, where do we start? Because we were talking a lot behind the scenes, and so...
goodness, yeah.
I definitely think we should take some questions, and if we can answer them, we totally will.
yeah, throw out questions, throw
Throw out
out
questions.
opinions, I guess. And the
So
place I
yeah,
think we should start is what kind of game we feel we had an experience with,
yeah,
because I think we've come to very similar conclusions in that. Well, I think you described it as feeling like someone who happened to be a vampire. I
yeah,
don't,
yeah. What did I say? I said basically it makes me feel like V5 makes me feel like I am a kindred when I'm playing at the table. V6 made me feel like I was like an adventurer or somebody out to do a thing, a task, like say D&D that just happens to also be a kindred. So it didn't hit the same way, like at the deep soul level of one of some of the reasons I love V5. Now that could be because I was in like a press game. There were people watching. Everybody was tired. It was 9 p.m. to midnight, right? But there were aspects of the game that I feel like I can also attribute to that, which we can get into a little bit deeper. But that was my big, like, if you're just talking umbrella takeaway, that was the thing that I think I took away, was I didn't quite feel like as much of a kindred as I wanted. So
yeah, and from the storyteller perspective, I didn't see anything particularly vampiric in my players. They were pretty dedicated to playing along with me for the important stuff, like trying to figure out whether they wanted to save these people or help them, or what kind of evil stuff they wanted to do. That didn't come up so much, and most of when they were, you know, the entire scenario was based around exploring a warehouse full of people because a bunch of people had died and
and
disappeared.
gone missing, yeah.
And the horror came from the fact that there were dismembered bodies everywhere and not really from anything internal to the
That you were
characters.
yeah, yes, that you
Yeah.
encountered. I would agree from a player
They
perspective.
would, yeah, yeah, exactly. They were using powers. And when that happened, it was as if they were like either just being really strong or really fast or charming, but not necessarily with any kind of razor's edge problem that would have come their way from doing
Which
any
is
of those
why, at
things.
least in my game, at the end, when the sheriff shows up, or at least that's where we got. Like at the end, we killed the stuff. We can go deeper into the actual play test, but the sheriff showed up and it got really political really fast. Like the sheriff was like really pissed that this was happening in our domain, even though this coterie of us that had just sit down at the table together had kind of found this thing. We're trying to do the right thing, and like it felt it lacked a lot of that politicalness and the drive for like, why are we even at this warehouse early in the playtest. And I didn't quite connect with it. And so at the end, it wasn't, the political piece wasn't terribly impactful. Now again, playtest,
Mm,
one shot, right? There are things to consider, but
difficult to do.
so far I've heard it feels like they've removed the personal horror part of the game, which is what I love. I really want to be wrong, but is that kind of what happened?
I would say that it's there are parts of it that are there in the humanity
Yep.
scale
Yep.
system that they've designed,
In fact,
but
let's go pull up a character sheet. Let's see if I can find one.
yeah, they've
Rotate.
not really got anything horrifying about being a vampire.
Correct.
The like most of the time, if you get too hungry, you gain this resource called quickening, which is something you can spend on getting extra
I
dice
hate it. I
in
hate the
future.
name. I hate it so much. There's some naming things in this show that I'm just
Yeah,
like not entirely behind, and the quickening is one of them. It's not. They can do better. I thought I'd pull up the
yeah, they
character
can.
sheets, but and they did actually in the
Uh,
playtest documentation, like your feedback form. They were like, "Is there any words that you didn't like?" And I was like, "Yeah, I got opinions."
into
I,
most of
I bet
them.
it's in the storyteller packet, or the pre-gens in the storyteller pack.
They are at the very bottom. At least I'm looking on Demiplane.
Oh, I'm
There's
not on Demiplane. I
ready-made.
downloaded the PDF, but let's see.
Oh,
This is a
okay.
conflict.
Um,
It's probably part. There's a lot out there, y'all. I downloaded mine off Drive Through RPG. I stand with Drive Through. So I got like
yep.
PDFs. And y'all, you have to understand they've put a lot of work into this. I'm not going to deny on that front. Like it is, but it is not the same game. It's not it's not like they were like, oh, we're gonna edge some things here and move some stuff around. Like, it is, mechanically speaking, a new game.
It's
um
entirely its own beast. And it seems to be drawing from s- uh, more streamlined systems. I think Daggerheart is a big reference for them,
yeah.
um,
And
which I've not
mhm.
played, but
I've only peeped it,
I've
right? Like, I've
played
not played
Cypher.
it. Yeah, I've
Cypher is also quite similar.
similar. It's got aspects of that. The vibe I get is they kind of went back 10 years, except for Daggerheart, right, in game design.
Mhm.
Back when, like, 4, even more than that, 15 now. God, I'm old. Um, fuck.
No, fourth edition was my first ever
This is like a long
TTRPG.
time ago.
So,
And so they pulled inspiration, and it's very clear if you've been playing that long or you've sat down, that they pulled inspiration from a variety of places. But the place that was most evident to me was in combat. That this
mm,
game is designed for a D&D audience, right? The turn order, the extended, like, dice buying and tokening to add and subtract and make your pools bigger, and metagaming of numbers in combat did not
mhm.
feel as smooth. Now, I'm lucky
Oh,
enough to
that's
get to
interesting.
I'm easy, and like, we are lucky I get to play with Mathis, okay? And Mathis has some pretty hard and fast rules when it comes to combat and VTM, and for good reason. The danger level to me in the game, um those things we struggle with, right, where you're like, am I using too much blood and these kinds of things, I never once in a 4-hour game worried about that. Like, the stakes of being a kindred, they have removed the fact you can't use technology,
Yeah.
right? Like, so
The
we actually had the Ventru call up somebody on the cell phone. Actually, it was kind of funny because each of the pre-gen characters come out of, like, a different decade. Like, their history
oh,
is a different decade, so we all had a cell phone or means of communication from, like, our initial decade, right? So I had the brick of a Nokia phone from the 90s, right? But somebody else had, like, a modern day. It was very cool. So the person with the modern day iPhone, because of it, was able to turn it around and use dominating powers as a Ventru through the phone screen,
hmm.
which to me doesn't make it as hard to be able to dominate people. Like, there was risk in technology, and for good reason, and maybe it's just a new generational thing, but
Hmm. That's interesting. So you said it wasn't as smooth in combat.
combat
I
took forever.
Interesting. I don't know. Was I running combat right? How did you do initiative? Because mine was literally like who had the highest wits,
It
and
is.
then
It's who has the
it
highest
is that?
wits. Yeah,
Okay.
it's who has the highest
Because I
wits.
hate combat in fifth. I should say that out front.
But it felt to
The
me
rule
like
book
that. Yeah.
combat fucking sucks.
Yeah, so
Um,
it's based on wits, so you just order up, and then it was like anybody that shared RST let them choose who went first,
yeah.
um
Okay, I did
based
do it
on maybe
right.
who they are, like, right. So the Nos, obviously being the sneaky one, was like, nah, it makes sense, I would go. So yeah, so you line up, and unlike, and maybe again this is just a Mathis thing, or I've been spoiled, but for me, combat, everything's happening at one time. So everybody kind of rolls out in V5 what they want to do, and then it's like
Mm,
it's a montage. It's a montage of events happening at the same time, not an order of events happening in 10-second chunks.
yeah.
So everything I loved about VTM combat is not there because you're in an order initiative. And I'll make an example. I wanted to do this super cool thing, okay? Which in V5 would have been cinematic as fuck, right? My gangrel's chasing one of the biggie bads around, right? Because we have a Bruja with a fucking guitar axe, okay? And so I'm just gonna chase, they can't catch me. I'm gonna chase them around, and as I come around, on the end of my turn for my movement, was like I slide under. By the time it got to the Bruja, because we were in turn order, that thing had already done something else, and my setup to take that creature's head did not happen because of the extended turn order. So
Mm,
it lacks the way that you can really see and play out these dynamic, quick moments. It never felt like anybody was in danger. Even when we took hits, I was like, well, we're never going to go into torpor. The danger was not there. There was no danger. Yes, the line of operation really killed the cinematicness of everybody acting in a single montage.
Yeah. Yeah. I think because my group was smaller, it felt like combat wasn't as slow as I expected it to be. I also found it quite boring from my perspective, but I think my players enjoyed it. I didn't roll it. GM doesn't roll any dice. I just spend a resource if I want to do a thing. And I tell them, I decide what the NPCs do, obviously, which is like throw a Molotov, use true faith,
Right, right.
try and stake someone, like jump from the ceiling and crush them,
Oh no,
uh,
goodness.
that kind of thing. Um, but it wasn't, it was more of a calculation in combat of like if I attack this person who's at half vitae
Mm-hmm.
health right now, am I likely to put them down?
Right.
Probably. So I'll attack someone else. And so it was easy to manipulate and balance, but it also wasn't very exciting for me. Um, I will say I did like that there were specific actions that everyone took, but it
Yeah.
is such from this side of the GM screen, it's such a battle combat focused
Focus. Yep.
NPC design that it's stripped down to like they don't have powers, they have several different
Mm.
things that they're likely to use.
Yes.
Like climbing is really easy for them, or they
Mm-hmm.
do extra damage once a fight, or they use true faith, or they try and stake someone, or yeah, and then they have equipment. But their difficulty is always their level, which is the number that you remove from
Correct.
your dice pool. So it's very straightforward for me to just go, here is the thing that you are rolling against. Take off two, three, four dice from your dice pool. And yeah, outside of fighting, most of this scenario was fighting. Um, it was very similar. Is my thing. While we were doing the social conflict rules, it also felt like a battle where they were trying to, instead of whittle down their health bar, they were trying to whittle down their willpower to a point where they could like win the scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and
But see,
it
that's the
was
thing. It felt like I was there to win, not there to
yeah.
tell a VTM story, which I feel like was this kind of underlying thing. And again, it could just be the setup of a one shot and this playtest, right? This kind of boxed
I don't think it
thing.
is.
But
I really don't think it
it's
is.
built to have to be like go fight this thing, go solve this thing, that there's
Yeah,
and it lacks that like larger storytelling perspective. I think that I enjoy so much about
yeah, but
V20 and V5.
narratively, where I mean, even though it's a one shot, the opportunities for people to bring in aspects of their character was very limited.
Mm-hmm.
People, talk to their Camarilla contacts, or they, I don't know, they brought in a bunch of experience from an occult tome that they supposedly read or something like that.
Yep.
But it was all numbers based, and it wasn't really like when they were making their character anything beyond the dots on their sheet really was their their creative writing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and there's certainly no prompts to imply that they're like a torn a character torn between monster and mortal.
Yeah. So I think my next
Yeah,
step is I want to go build a character, because remember I played a pre-gen. This
yeah,
is the
me too.
pre-gen that I played. Diane, who was their gangrel build. The characters were all very, what's the word I'm looking for? Bland play test characters. They were very stereotypical to their clan. They didn't try to do anything interesting. Okay, the Bruja is like a rocker chick, right? Diane is the like Gangrel who's always pushing for her own individuality and things like that. And a lot of what Josh was just saying about basically things that could be used on these character sheets would never have come up in this scenario. So there were a lot of things like, here's a Gangrel that has a dot in Camarilla status with no explanation as to why. Oh, no, that's not true. She used to be a hound. You were
that's one of the life
muscle.
paths.
Yeah, the life parts. You were a hound for the prince. So she's got this dot, but I never got to use that dot in Camarilla status, right? At any point in our story. Had a motorcycle. That's a cool asset. Never got to ride the motorcycle or use it in kind of... And everybody had a gun. Everybody. The Ventru had a gun.
Yeah,
a
everyone
rifle
has a melee
with
weapon and a gun.
melee weapon and a gun, which means that we are literally set up for combat. This playtest was about combat, not the social piece of it.
But the thing is, I think there's two social parts to this scenario. One where you meet a bunch of tied up mortals who've been kidnapped by spoilers for this one playtest scenario. It's a bit late for that. You meet a bunch of tied up mortals that have been kidnapped by whites, and the whites used, I think, people in a ritual to become whites.
Their bodies are all in a dumpster, and you basically have to fight the whites, who you learn through.
No, but there are mortals living inside.
Yeah, inside. They're keeping them in a container.
You talk to them, and you can, like, obviously they're freaked out. You can calm them down. You can eat them. You can do whatever you want.
Yep.
But obviously that is a social element, but there's no hint that these, like, NPCs are more than just props for your investigation, which is, I guess, how a lot of NPCs begin.
Yeah.
Where they're randomers who turn up. You talk to them once, and then if someone has an emotional connection with them, they get collected as a pet later. But then there's also a part where, as you said, the sheriff shows up.
But see,
like
I will say the most personal thing that happened, like, to a character is while we were fighting the whites, Diane, the character I was playing, was able to recognize one of the whites was a Brujah, who was just a normal standard-ass Brujah 2 weeks ago, which means this transformation happened super quickly. Something really bad happened, right? That was the most interesting piece of information that I got in the 4-hour play about the story that made... Now, again, that is my opinion. Those are the things I connect to. When they were like, this Brujah was just an anarch a few weeks ago. Like, he shouldn't be in this state that quickly. That was interesting. Then the sheriff shows up, and I got feels about, at the end. You get your social piece at the end, which if you know and you're doing a playtest, you always end up rushing the end. You rush it. So...
It got left off on one of my games, and we played through properly on another one, and then it was rushed on another one. And yeah, I mean, Whitmore says the playtest is testing the game mechanics, but the social battles are
important.
Are part of the game mechanics. Like, they are specifically writing out exactly how a social encounter goes by stating, like, there's these 3 vampires that turn up, and they're going to try and piss you off because they don't like you, and they want to pin the blame on you for all these people that died. They want to get this all sorted quickly. One of them is maybe interested in doing their job properly, but you have to convince them and provide them with evidence.
Yeah.
And, in the storyteller's scenario book, it says if you have evidence, you get bonus dice on convincing them and doing extra damage to their willpower track, which is not how a conversation works. I don't know about you, but I don't feel drained by
now
by
beyond
having this conversation.
The playtest, right? The scenario, which, in my opinion, it was just boiled chicken. It didn't have any flavor. Okay, it was playtest
I mean, it's
mechanics.
there to give you an excuse to play through
these mechanics.
I'm not worried about the quality of the writing of a playtest scenario.
But if we talk about the mechanics, right, the actual major change of mechanics, you can see the character sheet here on the screen. This looks about 10% like a standard character sheet that we're used to seeing. For me, I actually have my physical. Check it out. This is the one from the playtest.
Yeah.
You can actually see my notes here at the top of even me pushing. Okay, pushing and doing some really crazy gangrel shit. Okay, not Dakota style, like what we would consider standard gangrel stuff. I only really crossed from the satisfied piece of the Vitae bar into the thirsty piece. Dice rolls, because your pool inevitably is going to be smaller in V6 than V5, because you're going to be removing dice, not adding to it, right? That's how V5 is all about adding. We're going to rouse, we're going to willpower, get 3 more of those, lots of that. This game is like dice pool, difficulty, remove. Then I can go back and say, okay, well, I've got something here. I can add 1 die. I've got a specialty, or I've got a thing. So you're trying to build back up the pool. But we did a lot more subtracting than adding at my table.
Mm-hmm.
The Vitae and the willpower are also your damage bars. So you're sharing a bar with your damage and the Vitae usage itself, which is why it's so much bigger. What you don't see here on the screen, I wonder if I can actually, can I draw a line? No, I can only highlight. Oh, wait, pen. Oh, that's a pan. No, I thought I said pen. I was going to draw it so you can see all these gaps right here between. Actually, let me zoom in. I can do that. All right. I can zoom in. You can see that there are these little gaps. There's supposed to be a line there. They told us to draw it in at the playtest. I'm guessing in later design we'll see them there. But basically those are phases of the bar. And so you're working from the inside. You're basically working left to right. So you're going to start down here and you're going to work left to right. So I only, in a full combat as a gangrel, I only got 4. And puts me into the thirsty section, which was also lacking. I handwrote that.
I'm always in the thirsty section.
Yeah, me too. Well, Diana only got 1 die. But this was like, I used a lot of stuff. Now, I had some really lucky rolls, right? And I was telling Josh, like, 3 10s in this game is like the be-all end-all. It is literally like the best you can get, supernaturally awesome. In V5, 3 10s, yes, it is a critical, but 3 is a little different than 3 you would get there. The caps on the success ranges, things like it's not just 6 to 10 anymore, it's 8 to 10 only for your successes. A lot of that has changed in a rebalancing of shared Vitae and willpower bars and stuff. Willpower is your mental damage.
For the dice pool, I like that better. I like the fact that it is easier to balance in the sense that it is now 8+, and that there are often less dice, which I know isn't that fun as a player. Rolling more dice in a dice pool is exciting. The V5 thing that I feel this fixes is when you get 6 or more dice in V5, the probability of you getting crits and ridiculous numbers of successes skyrockets, and then it stops being difficult, or it stops being I don't know. There's just not. It's something weird rather than there's something being dramatic about getting 10 successes. For me,
and it does make it feel harder. So if you're really talking about like new kindred, modern knights, kind of this new generation, that makes sense. Like it should be harder. I'll also say that the humanity scale was something I go back and forth on if I like it. There are aspects. I miss touchstones and convictions. They are one of the only things in VTM, in my opinion, that gives the true 100% unique aspect to the character that you're building. You and I could build the exact same Nosferatu in skills, but those touchstones and convictions are the things that make us unique, because it's what ties us to our past and what's tying us to the actions we're taking in the present. They got rid of it. Instead, they kind of put it in this scale. Now, I understand the reason why, and it was pitched to me like this when I was talking through the playtest with them, and I thought this was interesting, and it stopped me. This is where I can keep going, right? In V5 and V20, we talk a lot about, like, once you get past a certain humanity scale, you're unplayable, right? Like, you are off the charts unplayable. But then how do we explain Methuselah's? How do we explain Mathis having a Methuselah alive for almost 15 years in a city without completely losing her shit? Okay, the humanity scale fixes that problem. Because based on the humanity scale, and Methuselah could work exceptionally hard to constantly add to their nature, okay, um, to build that up, to keep themselves in a state of not becoming a monstrous thing. And that's basically how the scale works. When you fill all of your beast stuff, right, you take a point down the humanity scale towards your monstrous. When you feel your nature side, which is kind of taking the place of narratively what we tend to do with touchstones and convictions. So fill your nature, tie yourself back to humanity, you will come back up that scale. So instead of it being a story about going down and then ending, this is really a story about doing this constantly and trying to find somewhere in the middle. I don't hate it, but I still don't love it. And I don't know
Yes.
why, you know?
The thing that I experienced in trying to engage that system is that uh, when your vitae goes low, you get quickening.
Oh,
When
God,
you
I hate that.
gain a beast point, you uh, like nothing else happens aside from it is a like a mention that you did something vampiric, like
Right.
drain someone
I
dry.
got one the whole
Um,
game, and trust me, I did a lot of stuff, and it did nothing happened. Right? It's not until I fill all or circle all five of these that something
well,
would happen.
my the only time someone changed on my uh on their humanity scale in my games was when the opposite happened. They indulged their beast by like basically shouting and intimidating someone down, and that removed from their beast tracker to where it's zero. And there's a rule that says when it's zero, you can then move your pointer towards that end
Yep.
of the humanity scale, which it makes sense, but like it's not very impactful. And I do like the thing you described about swinging between the like scaring yourself by being too monstrous and then like being about to turn into a
Right.
white or kill yourself or something. And then swinging too far the other way by being goody two shoes or uh,
Right.
leaning into your nature. But like, what what story, like I see very limited story opportunities to come out of that
I
because there's
agree.
very little impact on your character sheet. Like it
Yep.
gives you bonuses.
Yep.
So you want to kind of hang around one way or the other
Yeah.
because if you're pretending to be immortal, being high humanity is good. If you want to use lots of powers, being monstrous is good. And like I don't know, it doesn't feel like there's a question of navigating that.
Yep.
It's just
I
like
think if let's use
managing
Sybil.
it.
Let's use Sybil as an example because I we can continue to do that, right? Like we all know the Sybil, right? So
Yeah.
here's Sybil in V5 in Mathis's story, which again, all the cred to Mathis for being great at actually doing kind of what this mechanic does for us. Like some of us went up and down a couple times in our humanity scale, always staying within the still playable kind of thing. But Mathis used story beats and choices that we, the players, made for our characters to inspire that versus having a hard mechanic. Okay, that's what they've done here. So they've added this like hard mechanic. Let's say Sybil was existing by all standard, we never got to see anything Sybil did to maintain a level of humanity for her to be as old as she was. It just wasn't in V5. It's just not there. It's why you don't see antediluvian sheets. It's why Mathis was like, how do I make up a character sheet for her with dots? It would be so off the charts. This is what they wanted to answer for. Now they have built a system, like into this system where, let's say we were playing in V6 Chicago with Sybil. What we would have need to have seen and what Mathis it would have ideally have given the ST, I'm going to go from a optimism standpoint here, is things that needed to be done. So she would have to regularly fill this nature bar, this nature bar over here to
It sounds like a snack.
yeah, she'd have to fill her nature bar snack, all five of them regularly, which means what we would have probably seen, I'm going to guess here, is more things that she was doing to fill that. It makes them less of this like big bad god-like monster, and it forces these elders and these antediluvians to have a reason to continue to be here.
Yes. And I do like the concept that being human doesn't mean you're a good person. It just means you are reinforcing your beliefs and
Yeah,
ideals,
your
which,
own code of conduct.
yeah, it it's very limiting. I guess you could write your own, but the list of natures is a bit kind of thin and anemic and boring to me.
Boring is the
But you
thing that
could,
gets me. It's
yeah.
boring.
But I, I'll be honest, I never thought that that was an important question to ask or answer, which is how is 1,000-year-old vampire surviving without turning into an
Right.
evil thing? It makes sense.
Well, think about it like
It
this. They
makes
got a new
sense.
crew of people, right? That was very well publicized that they had hired. Oh, Bub
Hey, we
is
got a
joining us. I'm
boob.
gonna. Oh, there's Bub. Hi, Bub.
Hi.
Welcome into the V6 conversation.
Oh, I
We're
didn't mean to
live.
interrupt.
No,
Oh,
you're
No,
hi.
no,
not
no.
interrupting.
How you doing,
We're
bro?
talking about V6 here a little early, so more people I imagine will pop in. Bub probably just saw a link and grabbed it this
I
morning.
actually messaged the group. Am
Oh,
I
did
running?
you?
No,
Yeah,
you're not running behind. Josh and I, he's been playtesting, and I got to playtest the new V6 since we wanted to take
right.
an extra hour to just hash it out. So you've come in
Yeah.
at kind of a key pivotal moment. We're talking about their new change in the humanity scale.
Okay.
Which is very interesting. There are a lot of opinions, and I encourage all of you to go play it. Like Josh and I can tell you all of our opinions on the matter, but you deserve to make your own opinion. So I really encourage you to go play test. But more importantly, your play test doesn't mean shit if you don't provide feedback. So you should go
Yeah.
then to the feedback form and tell them what you think. That's helpful to them. That being said, what Josh was saying was that I never knew it was a question that needed to answer, like why Methuselah 1,000 years old. And I thought the same thing. But they brought in a lot of new people. That was very public, right? The new hirings and this kind of thing, and this kind of new team. A lot of that new team was also new to VTM. And they were asking questions of people like, as a game dev, we'll say, or a developer of this new system. Well, lore based, if they can't live forever without their humanity bar just bottoming out, then how do you get a
Mm.
1,000-year-old vampires? It's something that an outside person would ask, not somebody that's sitting here in this room because,
Yeah.
right?
It's, I mean, it kind of makes sense. It's like a logical thing. For me, vampire isn't logical, so I'm not particularly in. That's not an interesting question to me unless
Me
there's
neither, but you know,
but I see why it is a discrepancy. I actually want to pick up on a little mischief asked, how difficult is it to get the arrow back towards nature? Part of the horror is the downward spiral. I like being able to fight it, but it should feel like a genuine struggle. The way I interpret the rules is that when you fulfill the ideals that you've got down on your nature,
nature.
like assert your independence is one of them, I think.
Hmm.
Um,
Yep, it's right here actually. Loner.
if
Yep.
you do that, it will go towards nature. That's literally all it is. You play that out, and then at some point, you or your ST will recognize that it's time to
Yeah, so
put
I'll show you
points
here.
into that nature progress
So for
bar, and then you
Diane,
can like
it tells
push it
you,
towards
right? It
humanity.
tells you right here. Survivor. So for Diane, let's say that my beast is getting too full, or I've taken it down. I've gone down on the humanity scale and I need to go up. I have to pull through surviving whatever the world throws at you. So I have a survivor's instincts, which means I have to outburst. So there's a lot of different ways that I can do that. I can go run out in the woods. They have some more about survivor down here. Let me see if I can find it. But yeah, the idea is that whatever on your character sheet that nature piece is, that's what you need to go do story wise. It's like a conviction. It's just not called a conviction, right? And they've connected it not to individual character story, but to the clan itself. And choices made for your clan. So now I am going to talk about some of the changes that they made to like players and like what players get and don't get. There are some things that I actually kind of liked. Adobe is crashing because I have like 12 documents open. It's having like a whole moment. But yeah, one of those things is actually that certain clans have innate abilities now. So no longer are the days like I used to have to be what was a level 3 or 4 for me to be able to meld with Earth as a gangrel. They have decided that being able to sleep in the ground as the kind of clan that you are is innate. That is not a discipline. I don't have to buy that. And that's true for each clan got something like that. Like maybe it's Nosferatu they get a freebie in the invisible state, right? They get one of those. And so these things are really innate to the clan. They just gave to the clan. Okay. And then that was pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. Like, it made it really easy. And they had one other for us, and I can't remember what it was for Gangrels. But okay, Survivor, yeah. So I can always pull through. I have a survivor's instinct. If the situation is dangerous and you must survive it, you can't use social discipline power. So it does add some extra flaws and such like that. It feels like they took what's already there and they just broke it up into a lot of different things. Some of them are now free and not discipline based. Some of them are replacing things like convictions, touchstones to better suit the system as it is built with the bar. Thoughts on that, Josh? That's kind of how I feel about that.
Apologies, I was distracted.
That's fine. I'm going to very quickly flip through the pre-gens, which are free. So this is Catastrophe, as she calls herself, or Catherine. She's our Bruja. She's like straight up 90s grunge. She carries a guitar that, yes, you can beat people with. It's got like a blade, I think, on it or some shit like that. So, you've got Ulfrid, who is your Nosferatu. He was embraced in like 1967 or something like that. He's got your computer techie stuff under wraps. Let's see actually here. You can see these clan traits. So Feral Whispers. So Gangrel and Nosferatu now can talk to animals without using discipline or vitae. We simply can.
That feels like that's long overdue.
Right. Right. And I was like, cool, that makes sense. And Ghost in the Machine, you can extend some obfuscate to also affect electronic devices, which is really cool. That's the other clan trait for Nosferatu. Gangrel got the meld with Earth and Feral Whispers, which was actually cool because in my game, my Nosferatu had a rat. He has a pet rat, this pre-gen. And we both talked to the rat. Like, it was... I didn't have to spend any blood. And that makes sense considering the fact that you've now merged your vitae and your health bar into one vitae bar.
Yeah. The innate abilities are kind of a double-edged sword here in that I like that they've given some really nicely defining characteristics to clans to make them make their abilities purely linked to just their bloodline. I think that's really lovely. The downside there is unless there's a variety, you really can't make two Bruja that sound different from each other.
That is exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Yep.
They're all about kicking the shit out of people, and I think there's one power about pissing people off.
Pissing people off, that's all you can do.
Which is, you know, they're kind of V5 things like Spark of Rage and Prowess and Potence.
Right, here for the Venture,
stuff,
you've got Obedience, so your voice can also transmit your Dominate power, which is how we use the cell phone now because tech, right? And then Rationalize, so you're also, you have a free ability to rationalize your dominance over them. Instead of having to make it part of the role, like you can rationalize it so that they don't know you're dominating them. Makes sense for Ventru. But let's take Bub. Bub, you're now our study because you're here.
Got it.
Bub is the person that always builds a non-standard kindred.
Correct.
Okay? From start to finish. You will not be able to do that in V6. You're not going to be able, because of these clan-defined traits and things like that, as Josh was saying, two Bruja at the table are going to really feel super duper similar. Now, you can change your resources and those kinds of things, but because of the way it is, they're not going to feel quite as unique, or the ability to really craft them as unique, in my opinion. Now, I've not built a character, but I will say the clan traits on the con side of our list could make that more difficult for people like Bub to get really weird.
Question, then. Yeah. Because this is just, we're at like playtest state, right? Like we're not in, it's not full book.
It's alpha.
It's an alpha. Got it. So a lot of like the greater detail with V5 that makes it great is not that you just had a lot of the sort of a la carte pick and pull, as we all know with V5, but there's so many books now that have given us access to very distinct disciplines. Is this one of those things where that you feel like they created these sort of like core features that they feel like everyone should have, and then later we'll get that a la carte option, or is it just going to be like the same sticker pull for every character in their class or in their clan?
I don't know what their plans are for production, so I couldn't tell you. Like, it sure would be nice to get a player's book for V6 that helped build more of that out. That makes sense to me, but I don't know. I don't know.
So you can build a slightly different character by you still got the 3 disciplines per clan thing, and that those disciplines overlap with the availability for other things, which is different from your innate abilities as a clan member. But they have very specific concepts for a lot of the disciplines. Like take one of the new ones, which is corruption. So
Yep.
it's got a lot of those like presence and obfuscate powers that would otherwise be in those disciplines that would let you change someone's desires or like invert what they want or make them feel a certain negative emotion, to make them depressed, make them like see you as one of their loved ones. And it's a very specific concept for what a vampiric power is supposed to achieve, and that like progress line is 4, where as opposed to presence, where it's about being supernaturally sexy.
Yep. Yeah.
And so you can pick and choose different abilities from just like 5th for each dot level, and then you can also get extra abilities that you can purchase for each level. So if you want 2 level 1 ones, you don't have to go up to level 2. You can just buy a second level
cool.
1 one, which is a nice convenience. I think it will again make people who both have dominate look very, very similar.
Yes, at a certain point, right? Yeah. Life paths are another thing that's kind of like new, right? This is criminal executive, right? So for Victoria here, she's both a criminal and a corporate executive, which tells you everything you need to go know about her. That feels somewhat very Janet, right? So the life paths are also a new kind of interesting thing. I was gonna with a short time because we got to go pick up the other crew and come back and play some V5, everybody. But
no, we're switching to V6.
Yeah, I was trying to Leonardo, I think is this our no, this is our La Sombra. Okay. And then you've got, this is our Anthony Mercer is our ministry character. So there is a ministry.
Yeah, the ministry are the ones that get corruption, which makes sense.
Yep.
That's what they're about.
That's all
Sneaky
they're all
little
about.
Bitches.
Here's our Toreador, Adrian, the win. The whole playtest, tokens, maps, the whole 9 yards are available, like you said, over on Demiplane, or you can do like I did and download the PDFs for free from DriveThruRPG. But the last thing I wanted to go over and mention are the fully new things. You've mentioned quickening. And there's something we haven't talked about, which are drama points or drama tokens. Yeah, I hate drama too. But these are 2 very exceptionally new things that I think really need to like be talked about. Regardless of how I feel about the term quickening, which they got a laundry list of other terms they could use. But quickening is basically a currency that players receive when they get tens. When you get criticals, okay, you build them up to a certain point. At 5 of them, if you don't spend them, there are negative things that happen to you. So it's meant to constantly be spent. And the way I spent it most, I'll be honest, was to either give it to other people in my party before they rolled, like I can buff them by adding another dice. Because remember, we talked about the dice pools. You got your and then you're removing dice. So quickening is one way to add dice back to it. The second way I used it most was adding dice back to my own pool, especially when it was something I wouldn't be terribly good at as a gangrel. It was a great way of doing that. Now, the only way you get them, if I remember correctly, are 10s. But the ST also gets their own currency called drama points. I'm going to let Josh talk about those.
Drama points are accrued when someone gets what are they called? Painful failures. And painful failures are if you fail a roll with no successes and you get a 1, then you choose your pain, and one of the options is give the GM a drama point. And then STs, spend them on things like doing extra damage or activating extra abilities, or introducing complications to scenes, whether that is an overarching effect or a complication like hunters turn up.
Yep.
and that's how it's spent. But I don't like it because I do those things
Anyway, so that's the thing is both. So
and I don't get to roll dice
each
anymore.
of these remind me of two things already out in the tabletop universe. Drama to me reminds me of like darkness points in Coriolis. So the D6 dice pool system that Free League uses has something like this, where the
It
GM
feels
builds
like
it up and then
Cypher
it's
well.
Cypher, and you build it up to unleash a thing. The problem is, Josh and I were talking about this beforehand. It never feels like you really get to unleash something that feels worthy of the points spent for the players, right? If you're gonna slap down 3 drama point, there better be fucking drama. There better be 3 times drama. You know what I'm saying? And we never got to use them in game, so I don't really know, but it doesn't feel like it has that impact.
There is nothing in the rules that is particularly dramatic. It is scenario changes. I think one of their suggestions is like bullets flying everywhere.
Yep.
So if you're shooting, you get a bonus to your dice pool. If you're defending against getting shot, there is a negative, which I think my general philosophy on dice pool modifiers is that if all you can think to do is change the size of someone's dice pool or make them add a number to something, then there's nothing interesting going on in the narrative.
To me, the quickening points, as they're termed, for players feels very much like the 2d20 system or Daggerheart, right? The 2d20 system does this so beautifully. We've played Fallout here on the channel. If you watch that show, that uses a similar thing where players get instead you're getting an individual, not a group pool, but you get a pool and you spin them to add more dice to the dice pool, in essence, to help you with the negative effects of whatever's going on. And we said at the top, like, it's very clear there are aspects of this new V6 system that are inspired by other things out there. We've Cypher, Daggerheart, the 2d20 system. You can see pieces and parts of it, which does mean, yes, it is still a D10 dice pool system, 8+ success change of the range, as much as that rhymes. But yeah.
I just realized all of those games you just mentioned, I don't enjoy. I don't like 2d20.
See, and I love the 2d20 system, and this I said this.
I find it,
to me, V6 feels like it's got a little bit too much. It's got a little bit too much. Our salad got too much in it. Okay, we went overboard. It's got too much. The reason I love 2d20 is it has only certain aspects, right? It's only got the one, not the 3 or 4 different. And it feels like they're pulling from a lot of inspiration, and not all of it bad. I just don't know if the salad works together. I don't know. I think you should go tell us.
Maybe. Yeah. Everyone go play it and figure it out.
Now, I will say they did have cheat sheets for us. They had very, very helpful cheat sheets on the table for the press game that I played. I have not found those cheat sheets out there anywhere in the world.
Oh, what was on them?
It basically was like a very quick single page horizontal. It was really helpful. If they don't release this, that they're messing it up, because it helped take all those rules and put them into a single page. So you had like in combat the things and quickening and like what quickening can be used for and what happens when this happens, and it was just like a quick reference document. It was very helpful, especially for learning for the first time. You know, Major Hudson, I can't tell you what's wrong with 5th edition, that it needs a major rework. I can give you my feelings, having played it and working in the gaming industry myself. My guess is that for us diehards, this isn't probably going to be the system for us. This system is designed to bring in new players. People that are out there playing Daggerheart, out there playing Dungeons and Dragons, that need a somewhat easier or more identifiable system, right? We talked about initiative order now and things like that. These are things that they're used to. And so they got inspiration from things that people are used to and systems that are being played, and they kind of made their own version here for V6. That is my opinion, or how I feel about it. And it's not that that's a bad thing. I hope that it does bring in new people to Vampire the Masquerade. It means it'll last longer, right? Because the reality of the business is if V5 is hitting the core audience but not bringing in new people, that's not longevity. And some of this, I think, is just a business thing. And I know that sucks all the creativeness out of it and all of our love, but sometimes it's just about business. And it's not a bad business move to try to reach those people in a system that is maybe more identifiable, or closer to them already. Is
Here's
it
my
for Dot?
counterpoint. Yeah, well, here's my counterpoint to that, which is they can make this as accessible and uh, following popular trends as they would like. But if people arrive uh, because they want the experience that something else can give them, and they don't get sucked in by the particular style and vibe that only World of Darkness can provide, then why would they stick around for everything else that's going on?
Right.
I don't feel that in this system right now. I'm convinced that it is possible to adapt it in a way that does provide that. And I don't think with the very adventurer led uh, character style they have right now that that is what is going to make people stay.
Yeah. I mean,
I
is it?
don't
Yeah.
think people will stay for this kind of game unless they can find a way to give people a unique feeling.
Yeah, something that is totally new. I said, Josh, I said they did not go like, oh, we're in puberty and now we've become an adult. They went, we were in puberty and now we've created a completely different species. We're not even human anymore. And that's okay. They have a right to do that. The other thing that I think too is important to note. Up, and we've got a Mathis.
Hello.
I do not have a screen for all of us. We are going to come off of this Zoom call,
we're still-
everybody. Yeah, we're still live. Welcome, Mathis.
okay.
Yeah.
We're talking about V6.
We
Mathis,
were
Mathis,
literally
give us your
right.
hot takes.
Yeah, Mathis, this is your chance. I'm going to try to get you in the middle of the screen. Mathis, I'm zooming in.
V6 on V6?
Yeah. How do you
yeah.
feel about it, Mathis?
It sucks.
Anything else you want to say, Mathis?
I don't understand what they're trying to fucking do. I know I'm popping, so you may have said all of this already. But
No, go with
who are they aiming for? They're clearly trying to D&Dify the game. And my issue with D&Difying the game is who's your fucking market? You're going to piss off all the old head vampire players, which is like, okay, maybe you feel like you've capped out on the market on that.
This came in hot, y'all.
But if you're going to go to D&D, the audience is already taken. The niche is already there. Not only that, but didn't D&D get a vampire crossover?
They
Yeah,
have
they
announced
just-
that they're going to be doing something with Wizards of the Coast. That is
So
correct.
what the fuck is the point? Why does I don't understand. Like most people, tabletop RPG is a niche already. It is a niche. I love that we have our audience and we love these games, but it's a niche. It's a niche hobby for the most part. D&D is huge in that niche audience. Vampire has its audience, but going into it's like any video game developer trying to jump into live service games. To
What?
me. Like
Yeah.
you're going to farm an audience it's already very much taken, and you may be able to scrape a few players, but is it going to be enough to offset who you might lose in V6 in the first place? Why didn't we do a V5.5?
Well, I was just saying that we
or you
definitely went from human to armadillo instead of just human to
Right.
human. So
You
Like
can look for new players outside of the people that already play VTM because, I mean, look at the scale of IPs like Alien or just
what-
like any
what
horror
is-
franchise.
My
Because it
question
is
would be,
huge, but
though-
it's no overlap
to
with
get us all in front.
fantasy and
Yeah,
Dungeons
but
and Dragons.
Alien's great, but my question would be, how big is the Alien TTRPG?
huge.
Is it huge? Compared to what? To
No,
Vampire?
well,
to D&D?
you can't compare things to D&D. Okay, having worked in the industry, that is the anomaly. We do not compare ourselves to
Vampire
Wizards. Okay,
clearly disagrees.
So when we talk about the hierarchy, we're looking at the games that are most purchased outside of Wizards of the Coast. So you're going to
Yeah.
look at things. The most played games right now are Daggerheart, Shadowdark, Call of Cthulhu, surprisingly enough, Pathfinder. Are kind of your top core four of most played out there. When we're talking about
at one point, it was Vampire.
when we're talking about IPs, really what you're looking at are the companies that make them. So when I think about an IP company, I think about Modifius and Free League. They make the majority of their money on outside IPs. Man, we got way deep down a rabbit hole. I promise we're going to go to the show here in a second, gang. They make IPs, which means what you're looking at are IPs versus IPs. What is their most successful IP? Alien for Free League, and it sold like a lot. And then Modifius, I don't know if I'm going to guess it's probably Star Trek over Fallout.
That would make sense.
That would make sense. I don't know
Fallout
those
is huge
numbers.
as well.
But Fallout has
And
become really,
that is
really
a very
huge. Yep.
specific vibe.
Yep. And Call of Cthulhu is huge. Yes, it's huge in Japan. Okay.
Just call it like we see it.
why-
Like this is my take, right? I haven't really weighed in much on this, and this is from someone who's working inside of the creator industry, but not inside of the actual like material construct and like Dot, right? Because Dot works inside of that industry. The alpha test for 5th edition came out in 2017.
Well, it's,
We're almost at 10 years, guys. This feels just, it doesn't feel like this is a massive creative endeavor. This feels like it's a, let's get new faces. It's been a decade.
How every decade the
I'm
big
happy with
boys
that.
turn over,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Wizards of the Coast does it every 10 years.
Yes.
It's just part of it. And I, in full transparency, as somebody that works in the industry, I can tell you why. They want you to buy more books. This will require
Yeah,
you
of
to go
course.
out and buy more books. If we continue producing for V5, you don't have to buy books to keep playing. Longevity of the business says, well, if we don't have something new that they're going to go out and buy, there's nothing new they're going to go out and buy. That's not to say that they couldn't have done other things with it, right? A mage book or a changeling book. But I am telling you, part of this change at 10 years, as Bub said, is about making money.
It's dollars.
right, but okay, so like as a business question is, what pulls me away from D&D to play Vampire 6? Why am I leaving D&D with all my friends, with the campaign, with the books? Why would I shift when there's Vampire
can tell you.
Masquerade stuff
I
coming
agree.
to D&D?
I mean, I can tell you exactly why. Have you looked at Hasbro at all?
Yeah, having
Like I know
What do you
you,
mean?
like it is, man, it's flimsy. Like the company at large is, it feels like they are trying to just milk everything out of
Everything
their
they
audience,
can.
and
But
people
but
speak with their dollars, right? Like
is that the normie view though, or is that just our view as people in the creative industry who's very
no.
in the weeds of all this?
oh no, having like I wasn't in the hall at Gen Con, but from I'm in Indianapolis, right? All we do here is game. Everybody is like, I can't give money anymore to Wizards. I can't give money anymore to Hasbro. Like I just can't do it until they
as
actually
somebody
innovate.
that makes a product that is a V5 alternative, right? Tales of the Valiant. We had more sales of Tales of the Valiant this year at Gen Con than we had on launch year 2 years ago when the OGL scandal was hot to trot. We had more people show up and say, I don't want to give Hasbro my money. I don't want to give Wizards my money. I'm looking for an alternative to D&D. Now, this is where the con of and my support of Mathis is on this. As somebody that has made an alternative, people will still buy it. They don't want to leave D&D.
That's the issue.
The
Yeah.
changing people to a new audience is exceptionally difficult.
It is.
Those of you here in chat, I'm not talking to you because you showed up for a Vampire the Masquerade show.
You know exactly what you want. It's
You
the
know what
content
you want.
desire.
The average person, the new audience where we're trying to make gamers out of them, are still only going to play Wizards of the Coast because they don't know what we know about the wizard in the castle, right? Or the tower.
But I guess that's my issue with V6, right? Is like people are gonna play like you said, people playing D&D to play D&D. They want, and if they want to leave D&D, they want something D&D adjacent. What makes Vampire special in V6 that people will want to come to Vampire specifically versus another D&D game when Vampire one of the big reasons of World of Darkness being so popular, or at least used to be so popular, is it's wholly different. It is a political intrigue, in-depth role-play storytelling system with rules that are meant to serve the storytelling. And in V6, we have a resource DMs. We have DM bucks. So if I want to fuck your shit up, I'm gonna go spend some DM Bitcoin, and I can fuck it.
We were just talking about that, Mathis.
Or I can just do storytelling and plot pacing, and I'll be all right.
I want you to go back and listen to what Josh and I said at the beginning before Bub joined us, because I sang your praises as to how they've put a lot of mechanics in place for things that my ST was already doing naturally, right?
Yeah.
Because you're fantastic at your job.
I think we would all be like that.
Right.
Sure.
But that being said, we do have to wrap because we have to go start this other fucking show and we still need to go get another Zoom link. But wrapping thoughts from people here at the table. I'll kick us off. My closing thought around V6. Is it a bad system? No. It is, for me, the difference between a home-cooked meal by a Creole woman, okay, and going to the store and cooking my own meal with Creole seasoning.
Mine would taste the same. I don't know what you're talking
No,
about.
Mathis, you're the old lady making my Creole dish, okay?
right.
Right, because I played V5. But that's it's not as rich or as thick in the darkness piece of World of Darkness, and it does pull away a few things that I think just makes it a bit more digestible for the average gamer. Good or bad, I can't say. I don't know that I will be running or playing V6.
Not for quite some time.
If it looks like this, no, I agree with you, Dot, and I think the interesting thing is, while this is a rules-specific gameplay test, the rules don't are intended to create a style of story and a feeling and some kind of emotion. The emotion that I got was excitement and adventure, where what I want is depression and getting the shit kicked out of me.
I want it to
There's
be
so
hard,
much-
damn it.
Yeah, I want my life to be hard, and I like it that way. And there's so much deep, wonderful horror and goth culture and punk culture and interesting things to draw from beyond a superficial like veneer, like spread over this this very light rule set that you would have to put a lot of work in as a gaming group, and the rules do not enforce.
Yeah.
And so if it stays looking like this, I would play a rules like game of Vampire, but I would not play this rules like game of Vampire.
Bub, Mathis, final thoughts?
I can chime in. Yeah, I'll take it. Sure. I've had no experience with it at all. I have not played it. I've not looked at any documentation. I've just heard what everyone else has had to say. And I can say with caveat here to everything that everyone has notion to, our table is wholly unique compared to many other tables. I've played in like under 4 or 5 separate storytellers for Vampire. I've yet to play V20 or anything outside of V5, but I've always heard interesting things. But despite its somewhat crunchy and dark veneer, mechanics don't really have that much of a long-form play. It's designed to complement, right? To encourage you. It's supposed to be a vehicle to take you to the next step. But nothing that they can mechanically build will ever trump a creative storyteller. Sure. We've bastardized and just completely bricked over many of the rules since we started V5, just because it's like, why the fuck would we do that? This would be so much smoother. Now give me this roll, right? Like we've done that, and we've done that like happily so. So they can make a new system, they can introduce as many new cool mechanics that they believe is interesting, but it doesn't really trump the creativity and the narrative at the table based on the people who are just steeped in the dark genre already.
I think I agree. I think that's true. There's aspects of V6 that I'm just confused about that you can't get around, like merging blood in HP. Like that kind of stuff is just bizarre to me. And I know you're trying to do something, I don't know, different or unique. You're trying to your 10-year refresh, whatever the case is. I just don't know what the audience you're aiming for. Like I know what the audience you're aiming for is. I don't see, like maybe you're trying to use the Vampire crossover to D&D to be the door that leads people into Vampire the Masquerade in the first place. And in that, yeah, you're going to lead them into the adventure-y, nighttime vigilantes kind of Vampire, I guess. But like the whole point of Vampire from the very beginning isn't that kind of game. And yes, a storyteller can, I can turn D&D dark. I can turn Star Wars dark, but there are still rules within.
Now you can turn them
have
dark
to play.
together at the same time, Mathis.
Yeah, exactly. I can just cross it all over. I think I'm also I agree with Dot. I don't think it's a bad thing. It's just not for me. It reminds me in a weird way of D&D 4th edition when that came out, and it was so clear from 3rd to 4th they were going for an entirely different subsect of people, and I think that fucked up Hasbro a bit, or for a while. 5th edition was such a hard turn away from 5th.
Yeah. And
then 6th edition D&D is more like 5th plus, 5.5 in a weird way. Like, that's where I'm like, especially with World of Darkness having recently released Werewolf and all the issues they had with Werewolf, and it's like, okay, now we're just going to do a brand new whole, like, nothing really can carry over from 5 to 6. I will really have to bastardize fifth to fit sixth, or vice versa if there's something in sixth that I like for fifth.
Yeah. All in all, here's what I'll say. The first piece for all of you at home of the player packet talks about their game design goals, which I think is really important in this discussion. I'm not going to read them verbatim for you. You can go read them yourself. They're on the first page. And I want to think that the GM one has the same game design goals. So both packets, which I think are important, right? They even make it very clear that these are simplified rules. So you should know that that is part of their design going in, which is really important. But the second thing I will say is knowing some people on the team making it, I have a couple really trusted development people that I know and love. So my hope is that your feedback really does make to a better development of this game. The second thing that I will say, having met part of the team now for the press game, is that they have people that really love Vampire in that.
Oh, I don't doubt it. Absolutely.
Which I think is a really positive thing, and we should remember that they're not coming at this from an entirely new group of people. They have some people that really, really, really love VTM, and all the way back to the LARP days before we even had a tabletop. So there's hope, right? There is hope. We joked about this being petty. It's not petty. I do think that this intro and the alpha and the playtest is all just that, and it's hard to say, is this a good game or is this a bad game? But what we can do is tell them, are the rules working? And that doesn't happen unless you go out and you play it and you tell them about it every day.
And they might hear us and be like, then the rules are working, actually. Like, they might listen to us and be
right,
like,
they might
exactly
listen to us and be like, yeah, what they don't like is exactly what we're aiming for. So congratulations. Yeah. So, okay, we do have to wrap. We are going to play some VTM today. We're going to close this stream down. Don't go anywhere. Bub's going to kick one up pretty soon after. Josh and I need a moment of a break. We've been at this for a hot minute. And I need to close all these documents for V6 so we can go back to V5 and find out what the fuck is going on in Boston. So, thanks everybody for tuning in. I don't know if this helped, hindered, or inspired you, but maybe it's one of the three, or maybe it's none of the above. But I look forward to seeing the developments on V6. So, all right, everybody, we'll be back here in just a little bit. Don't go anywhere. Bye-bye.